Dads.
So, have you ever ordered anything from the Sweetwater musical company?
I have not.
Okay, I don't. That's not their actual. It's Sweetwater something. It might just be Sweetwater Inc. If I'm being honest. Um, they have customer service representatives that want to make sure that not just that you're enjoying the products, that you're living your best life in any way possible. And I thought
Okay.
for a while that it was just me. To a point that
Yeah.
I don't pick up. They're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I know it's the only Fort Wayne, Indiana phone number that could possibly be calling me, so I just don't pick that area code up. Sorry, if
Right.
you ever try and call me from Fort Wayne, Indiana, it's not getting picked up. It's just not.
Not getting picked up.
Um, so my microphone and my microphone interface to make it go into my computer because it's an XLR microphone, right? Um,
Right.
I bought all this from Sweetwater because it was on sale and it was a good price for it and everything like that. And everything was fantastic. Shipped in like 24 hours. It was great. They sent me some candy to go with it, like in the box with a yeah, it was great.
Ooh.
It's fantastic. And then they call you on the customer like the day it's scheduled to be delivered. They must have like backtracking like set up. Their customer service reps
Right.
will call you the day it's delivered and say, "Hey, your stuff's there. My name's Chris. If you need anything, I'm here." I'm like, wow, this is really nice. Makes you feel really, really good, you know?
Yeah.
But they don't stop there. They call you a week later. Hey, how's that stuff working? Everything have you used it? Is it working good? How's it? Yeah, it's working great. It's fantastic. Awesome. Again, name's Chris. You need anything, give me a call. All right. Okay. Pretty good
Yeah.
customer service. 6 months go by. Hey, just want to let you know. If you need anything, following up. If you need anything ever again from Sweetwater, you just let me know. I'll hook you up. I can get you deals if you call through me. Just let me know. All right.
Yeah.
6 months later, and 6 months later, is it? I stopped. I stopped answering. I'm like, I don't. I bought this microphone a year and a half ago. I don't need 5 more phone calls asking if it still works and reminding me
Listen.
to use Sweetwater.
Yeah, one time it's not gonna be working, and then you're gonna have to call Sweetwater, and then Chris is gonna say, "I knew you'd come crawling back."
I knew you'd be
They
back.
always do.
I knew you'd be back. Uh, it's purely wild the strategy, but it's not just me, and I don't know why, but I have niche interests and hobbies frequently. This Sweetwater experience I thought was very niche. I thought like was a me thing,
Yeah.
right? I'm getting TikToks about people and their Sweetwater representatives. I'm like, it's not just me. It's
Wow.
not just me. Other people are experiencing the same thing I am that they'll have, and it's the funny. Hey, how are you sleeping tonight? I just want to make sure if you need any. Like it's, I'm telling you, it's not just me. It's wild out there. These Sweetwater customer service reps are wild and out there.
Aggressively helpful customer service.
Aggressively helpful. It is. If you ever order anything from because it's a good company. They ship really well. I've ordered other things later, like this boom mic or the boom that I use for my microphone.
Yeah.
I've ordered from there later. I just did not pick up the area code after it shipped. Once it got here, I'm like, all right, Fort Wayne, Indiana, you're blocked again. You're done.
Do you think it's the same guy? Do you think that he is your guy? Like,
So
anytime you do an order now,
the
it's gonna come to
name
him?
Chris feels so familiar that I feel like it has to be like the one that I had. Like Chris feels like
Gotta
that's
be.
my rep.
Yeah.
It's also the name they use on the TikToks that I found. So either Chris is working
Mm.
overtime and just putting in the dials, or Sweetwater has the best AI phone service of any company that's ever existed. So it's one or the other.
Damn. Well, we'll find out. One day, I'll order a mic, and we'll see who comes calling me.
It's got to be Chris. I can only imagine. It's got to be Chris.
Gotta be Chris. Welcome to Big Dad Energy, the journey of parenting and adulting through the eyes of two young dads. I'm your co-host, Joe Lopez, and with me, as always, is my co-dad, Jared Shedmansky. Jared, how the heck are ya?
Joseph, I'm good. I'm good. Uh,
Good.
recording schedule's a little weird this week, but sometimes it's nice to break up the schedule a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I
Oh,
feel good.
show.
I feel good. Um,
Yeah. It's good recording at noon and not at 8:30 at night.
I
Sometimes the 8:30 at nights, they get a little, like, late, you kind of are sleepy,
I
but
truly it's hard to put into words the difference in energy levels I have once the clock strikes 6:30. Like, I'm good. It's a good day. Afternoon hits, I'm like still fine, still good. 6:30 hits, I'm like I day's over. I'm not even
done.
I can't even fall asleep. This is a problem that Katie and I have had are the whole we've been together almost 10 years, which is wild to say. We've been together almost 10 years, and the whole time we've been together, this has been an issue. When Katie's done for the day, she goes to bed. She's like, "All right, I I've run out of
Right.
energy. I'm going to sleep to recharge the energy to start the next day with more energy." I'm like, "All right, I've run out of energy. I can't fall asleep for another 3 hours. How do I survive
Yep.
between 6:30 and 10 o'clock when I can finally actually go to bed? Like, how do I fill
Right.
this time period here where I have no energy to do anything, but I cannot fall asleep?
Yeah. Ugh, video games and reading, I guess.
Podcasting, video games,
Yeah, nerd.
hey,
Are you gonna say vinegar?
no, I was gonna say video games, podcasting, and it like the video. So whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Joe, how are
How
you?
have you been? What's been Oh god, we overlap there.
Oh,
I'm good. Well, for the most part, I'm good. We got boned with taxes, but I guess
ugh.
that's just life, when, you have a employed human. Um, but it's only this year, next year, switching over to W-2, so it should be fine.
Ooh,
Uh, yeah, 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 or this year, switching over to W-2. So next year, we should be good, should be solid. Just this year, paying way more than we anticipated, which sucks, so,
I never have
yeah.
envied anybody that is not. I've always, literally my whole life been on W-2. Um, I've
Yeah.
never had to like self-report income or anything like that. I have seen the videos and the TikToks. I don't know if I'm sure if we've been doing this podcast for years. I'm sure I've brought up my grandfather was a tax accountant forever, for
Okay.
like 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, and so I know a fair share about taxes just from having that. Um, and I've never once like been jealous of somebody that is not on W-2 because even our buddy Kevin was a
Yeah.
freelancer forever and would talk about like having to do taxes quarterly, having to do like
Yeah.
you have to set aside your money. Like I know it's different cuz like it's just a mentality difference. I've never seen that money,
Yeah.
right? So I get to the end of the year and I'm like, "Cool, free money back" because I've never seen it. I like it doesn't even go in my bank
Right.
account. I know it's not the financially smart thing to do, right? The financially smart thing is to keep the money and pay the tax. Does not matter to me. I don't want to see it. Don't tell me I have the money. It'll be
Yeah.
a nice little bonus at the beginning of the year. So I would just I am the worst. I would spend it. I would be in tax debt forever. I would be the worst
Yeah.
ever.
We should do it quarterly, or we should have. Again, this year, now that she's switching W-2, doesn't matter. Um, we should have done it quarterly, but the year prior, we didn't, and our tax guy, we only owed, like, 1,000 or something like that, which sounds like a lot,
Sure,
and it
but it's
is.
a whole year of taxes,
But
right? Like owing a
yeah,
$1,000 for a whole year of
and
taxes is less.
yeah, and I do pull out 30% of the paycheck and put it away in a tax account that we typically don't touch. So when we did our taxes for 2022, we only owed like just over 1,000, and he was like, if Kayla stays at the same rate, you should be good. You shouldn't have to worry about paying quarterly. Well, she did way better in 2023 than she did in 2022, and so that bumped her pay up, and that just,
Mhm.
is what led us to owe more. And because we thought, we were in that mindset of, it was only like $1,000, whatever. We used some of that tax money for things like our car breaking down
Right,
and
right.
projects on our house. Uh, so now we're just, tightening up the purse strings and putting away a little. We have till April 15th tax day to
That's right.
pay. So we're saving up some more quiche to throw to the old Uncle
Old
Sam.
Uncle Sam, he needs it. He needs it from you.
Yeah, apparently, apparently. Um, but that's been fine. Our water softener broke.
Ooh,
Uh, yeah, it's just like so we had our car break, we had this, we had our water softener break. Thankfully, I fixed the water softener. I got in the
attaboy.
innards of the mechanisms and found the piece that was missing or that was broken. Ordered that. It was only like $9 and took apart the motor and everything and swapped that piece out and now it's good.
Slowly but surely, we're becoming our father-in-laws. Slowly but surely.
Right.
Like I think back, I fixed my furnace, like a month and a half ago,
Yeah.
right? It was being annoying. I went in there, watched a YouTube video, did not use the crisp $5 bill the guy asked me to, but like just little
Yeah.
those little things of like furnace isn't working. I know how to fix it. I'm just gonna go in and do it. Slowly but surely,
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah, and I learned a lot about water softeners, which I didn't think I ever would,
I
which
We
is
don't
pretty
have a
cool.
water softener. We're on city water. We don't have a water
Yeah.
softener.
Listen, I live,
You
in
live in the
nowhere.
boonies. You live in the boonies. You don't. What's funny though is we had a water softener growing up, and I grew up in a
Yeah.
suburban town. It's not.
Yeah.
It wasn't as big as the town I live in now, but it was not small. Um,
No. No, not at all.
and so like we had two high schools. I think any town that has two high schools does not count as a
Yeah.
small town. Um, and we had a water softener, but we were on city water.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right. I think it's just the area, right? I mean, over on that west side, in that area, I'm sure the water isn't top notch amazing. I mean, it's probably being pulled from Lake Michigan,
Yeah,
but I'm that area on the west side seems pretty country-like.
it is.
Like it's a lot of flat ground. It's a lot of so I got to imagine the water's not amazing. Like and that's why we have a water softener here. We have village water, but it isn't great.
The village
So.
water is well water. It's it's village water. It's well water.
Right. So yes, we have that going on. We were on a really good streak of Cora sleeping in her bed and not having accidents. Last night she came into our bed and had an accident.
Ugh,
Uh,
the twofer.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, she's been coming into our bed every night for the last couple nights, and then last night she came into our bed, and that's on me. It's like the one night I didn't ask her when she came into our room,
She
"Hey,
needed
do
to
you
go
need to go to
potty.
the bathroom?" And I was like half asleep, so I just threw her in the bed, and then like 15, 20 minutes later, she goes, "Daddy, I had an accident." I was like, "Ah, no."
Mm,
Yeah,
that's hard.
but yeah. Other than that, we're all right. Grayson's whiny. Cora's a 4-year-old, so she's sassy and angry in the evenings every night. But yeah, other than that, we're good. How are you all? How's the Szymanskis?
We're all right. We're surviving. Katie starts a new job next week, so we're a little bit like this week was a little bit topsy turvy in the fact that like Katie's home with the kids, which is great, but also she's trying to move stuff into her new classroom, and also like
Right.
when they're home, it's just a different. I have a really tough time separating like being at work and like
Yes.
I even feel more guilty about it because like I know I need to be downstairs at my computer working. And so I don't go upstairs, but I'm still listening to the pitter patter of feet. I'm still listening to Ben yelling at Pootie and somebody crying and things like that. And like I'm not as focused as I need to be on work, and I'm also not upstairs helping. So I'm in this like terrible halfway house of like
Yeah.
I know I should be working and I should just be focused on working, but I'm also, or I should go upstairs and help with the kids, but I'm doing neither, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
it's always hard. And it was only 1 week, so I'm not, it's not the end of the world. Um, but like when Katie's home for the summertime, I have this same problem of like, I need to be where my feet are in one place or the other. And I struggle. I have a hard time with it. Um,
Yeah. I think that's one of the big dilemmas with working from home. I work from home 2 days a week, and one of those days, well, Wednesdays and Fridays. Fridays, Cora doesn't have school. Usually, she goes to
mhm.
my mom's. We're recording this on Friday. but Kayla doesn't have any clients today, so Cora's home, and thankfully Kayla and Cora are having a good day. But it definitely is tough when that happens. But for the next month, I will be working from home because we're switching offices.
Oh yeah.
And on Thursdays, Kayla has off with Grayson. So those are the days that are hard when I have to be home on a Thursday because Grayson is much more needier than Cora is.
Yeah.
And hearing, yeah, the crying, the yelling, the arguing, the footsteps, it is rough not focusing on one or the other.
It it is, it, something we got to fight with. And you know,
Yeah.
come summertime, and here's the thing about it too is like come summertime, I will get better at it, and then I'll be like I'll be a little bit relieved when Katie goes back to school just cuz the house is quiet again. But
Yeah.
it is also really nice having them home, right? Like I was talking about, I can go
Yeah.
upstairs and eat lunch with them, or like I can help out when I can help out. But it's also really stressful. Like right now, right before we started recording this, I was on camera doing a conversation like with my boss, like actually doing work and working and things like that. And Katie texted me that Will was asleep and needed to get put down. It's like I can't. I'm still
Right.
in a meeting, and so like we're in this like I can help when I can, but also there's sometimes when I can't, and then I want to be, and then I'm like back in that half. So it's tough. It's tough. It's that's life.
That's life. That's life. Um, yeah. Anything else going on with you all? How are the kiddos?
The
Crazy still?
kiddos are crazy. They're crazy. I Will's getting more teeth. We have tried to get him in his bed, and continue to try and get him in his bed. And every time we make like last week, he had finished teething, would sleep in his bed until like midnight, and then come to our bed. Right, so like half a night in his bed,
Yeah.
half a night in our bed, which is progress, big progress.
Yeah.
We're back to now. He's like not even like
Mm.
and the problem is it's not like we're not trying. We put him down last night. We recorded the interview you guys are about to hear. We recorded last night. We put him down in his bed at 7:30. He fell asleep. And we recorded that interview at 8:30. I told Katie, I was like, "Hey, are you sure you're going to have to stay awake until I'm done recording cuz like I can't come help with him until we're done." She goes, "Yeah, I have some work to do, so we're just going to try and put him in his bed, and then if he wakes up, like he wakes up and we'll figure it out."
Yeah.
8:10 she texted me and said, "Can you come help put him back down?" 8:10. He was asleep from 7:30 to like 7:50. She fed him again
Ooh.
and then like told me to come help put him down. It's just like unsustainable. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's wild. So back
It's
to the drawing board. We're just gonna keep trying what we can keep trying and go from there. So
yeah. Yikes. Yikes a Rooney. It's tough. Kids are tough, man.
they're just hard.
Um,
And it's at the point now
they're
where,
just hard.
you know, for a long time it's like, oh, this is frustrating. And sometimes it is. Don't get me wrong. Like, do I wish I had my own life and like able to have those couple I remember about this time when Ben was this age, when he started sleeping through the night, and it was like the most freeing thing in the world. You're like, I
Yeah.
can play video games and Katie can go to bed and like it's back to normal. Like life is back to normal. Um
Yeah.
and now it's at the point where it's like I don't even wish for that anymore. I just like it'll just be what it'll be. There's nothing I can do anymore.
No kidding. I know, like, every night I have intentions of once the kids are in bed, I'm gonna, either do chores or write, whether it be D&D or, like, screenplays, whatever it may
Mhm.
be, like, just write ideas. And, yeah, like, they're up until 10:30 or whatever, like, fighting sleep, and by the time they pass out, I'm like, "Man, oh, man, I'm done.
I
I am donezo."
I don't even have a bedtime anymore. I used to like sneaky have a very rigid bedtime where like 11
Yeah.
o'clock would hit and I'd be playing video games, and that would be my indicator of like, okay, time to be done, go upstairs, be asleep by like 11:30 because it takes me like 30 minutes to fall asleep. If I'm a little bit more tired, that's 10 o'clock. Fall asleep by 10:30, right? Get that extra hour. I just fall asleep whenever I
Yeah.
fall asleep now. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it's 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm laying in bed holding Will, like trying to get him back down to sleep, and I fall asleep, and that's the time I fall asleep. And
Right.
sometimes it's midnight, and it's like I'm just asleep whenever I'm asleep. I don't know anymore.
Yeah. One day they'll be in school and probably have decent bedtimes.
You gotta hope, right? They gotta
But
sleep one time. One time they gotta
at
start
least
sleeping.
one time. Exactly. Yeah, so Jared and I did an interview with two people that are very special to me. Matt and Alicia Baugh. They are two of my friends from the camp that I volunteer at, and they also have a very, very different household situation than we do. We have two kids, and Jared has two kids. They have two kids as well, but they have twins. They have twin 2-year-old girls. And boy, howdy, was it interesting to hear everything that they've been through with these two girls. So we will go ahead and get our interview going with Matt and Alicia Ball and about their twins. All right, and now with us today we have Matt and Alicia Ball, two people from my camp family that we are bringing into the Big Dad Energy world because they have a very different lifestyle than us, in the fact that they have two 2-year-old twin daughters. So
Ooh.
welcome, you two. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah. So you have two 2-year-old daughters. Um, what a life that is. I can't even imagine it. So real quick, I just kind of want to like overview what's life like right now in this moment with the two 2-year-olds.
Busy,
Yep.
in one word.
Busy is the one word. We both work full time, and so shout out to all the double working parents. I don't know how we're doing it, but somehow it's all getting done.
Yeah,
Somehow.
right.
Boy, do I feel that. As
Yeah.
I have so my kids are 3.5 and 1.5. And so you guys split down right down the middle of mine.
Uh-huh.
And busy is the only word. It's the only word.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing else to describe. Joe and I have talked a lot over the last 18 months about what it's like having two kids and the difference between one and two. And there's so many times where I've thought like, man, if we just waited a little bit longer to have that second one, like knowing what I know now, if we just spread it out a little bit, waited for like having another kid at 2, like imagine you right now thinking, "Oh yeah, let's just throw another one into this mix. Let's just add this up together." And
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no thanks.
Couldn't do it.
Not right
it's
now.
truly insanity. What we were thinking, but we were so like naive when we had one kid. You guys never had that opportunity. So, what was it like from the beginning? Did it always feel like you were drowning, like from the very start, or did it take some time? Like Joe and I have kind of gone over about like one kid in a newborn phase. At that time, you're so, I don't know, drunk on your own punch, right? About like this is I think I'm busy now because this whole new baby's in my life, but when you look back on it, 8 months later, you're like, oh, that was nothing. They laid on the couch and I got to watch all my TV shows. It was nothing. So were you guys ever like that? Did you ever have that like honeymoon period, or was it always from the get go, just pedal to the metal, let's go?
It's been full throttle. So probably helpful context as well to know is so Matt is now a full doctor of pharmacology. Is that he's
Heck
a
yeah.
pharmacist? He's a
Congratulations.
pharmacist.
Heck yeah.
But when we were expecting, he was not yet, and so he was in a full-blown post-grad program. When I gave birth, he was actively doing like rotation work in the hospital.
Wild.
And
Oh,
so at
wow.
no point was it chill.
No.
I don't know if this is like dad podcast territory, but like I was complete milk overproducer mode too.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I was pumping like 20 ounces every session. And because of twins and the logistics of all of it, like full on breastfeeding was not a choice, but
Sure.
exclusive pumping, totally a choice.
Yeah.
We made it happen for 6 months. And that made it so that we were a factory.
Yeah.
Like constant turning over of
Yeah.
the next things, and every iteration of life since then has just been a different different type of factory.
Yeah. I think like the perspective, at least for me and probably for you as well a little bit, comes when we have like one girl homesick.
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like this is what it
Easy
would have been
street,
like
right?
to have like one child. I think that is like
Yeah.
I think that really is the point, like the comparison point that I think about it the most of like stopping for a second and being like, oh my gosh, like
This would be
there's
great.
yeah, and I mean we wouldn't have it any other way. Georgie
No.
and Lily,
Of course not.
phenomenal. Wouldn't go back. Wouldn't want to just have one of them. But it is, yeah, it gives you perspective. It's just
Yeah.
like, goodness, the night and day difference is a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy even now. So my son goes to preschool only twice a week, half day is my oldest. And on those two, it's Tuesday, Thursday, and on those mornings where it's just my 18-month-old like walking around the house, everything's so chill. Like everything is so easy, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is what? Why? Why is like? But then they get together and it's madness all the time, just anarchy.
Yeah.
Another question I had. So taking it all the way back to the beginning.
Mhm.
When did you guys, broadly speaking, could you touch on your birth story, like about how you found out you had twins and how that whole process went, how you dealt with it at the beginning and everything like that?
For sure.
Yeah. So Alicia we were expecting just like kind of still in the post-COVID period where like doctor's appointments, I wasn't able to go to all of them actually. There was
Mhm.
two appointments that I was able to go to. The 20-month or 20-week appointment which is the appointment that we found out that we were expecting twins, the ultrasound.
That late? What?
No.
No,
Oh,
No.
when was it?
No.
Oh, sorry,
No.
timelines.
It's a dad
We found
podcast.
out
We
much
understand
earlier
here.
than that.
What was what week was it?
7.
7. Okay, 7 weeks. Sorry, 7 weeks. So my 20s and my 7s get mixed up
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
you weren't there, so it's okay.
Right, exactly. So I was able to go to the appointment that we found out we were expecting twins.
Thank
Very surreal experience, right? It was there, they've got the ultrasound up and we heard, here's baby 1 and here's baby 2. And it was just like, like pausing for a moment, and I asked the doctor, "Are you joking?" And he was like, "No, we don't joke about that."
God,
Me
I
thinking
would
like that
hope
was a
not.
perfectly logical question in the moment, right? Like
He's like,
and
no,
you got to
we
make that
don't."
joke sometimes,
Yeah.
but apparently not. And I was very excited to hear that, not being the one thinking about, wow, 2 kids growing inside of me for the next 6 months, as it turned out. And I think our emotions were kind of opposite in that, where you weren't not excited, but thinking about.
I mean, Joe,
Yeah.
it's not often where I'm at a loss for words.
Right.
It is rare when I am ever silent. And that was a moment where I was literally just like, I remember very specifically, there was a single tear that went down my face of just like shock. Because
jeez.
Matt and I both were both cancer survivors.
Mhm.
That's like a part of our story. We assumed we were going to have every challenge on earth getting pregnant. And so
Yeah.
we got pregnant very quickly.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
Yep.
I felt like garbage, but
Yeah.
I had never been pregnant before. I didn't know what was normal and what was not. Turns out
Right.
twins and both girls will make nausea a very big thing. And then we went into that first appointment, and literally I don't think I said much of anything. No. And then when we got in the car, I was like, okay, I need a quick moment to panic, and then I'm good. Like I'm solid for the rest of it. But I need a quick panic moment because this is happening to my body. And then after that, we just figured it out. We had to deal with the realities of twins, because the first conversation they have with you is like, vaginal birth, highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen. Which I was not married to that idea. That was not something I felt passionate about, so no issues there. But likely having a NICU stay, that was a bigger thing for us. And we did have a short NICU stay for Lily.
About a couple 2 weeks, I think, when it was all said and done, she was there, which made it challenging. We had help come into town. My parents and Alicia's parents both helped out so that we could go visit, because they weren't again, like still in the post-COVID period, they weren't letting,
Mm-hmm.
like, we couldn't bring Georgie to visit Lily.
Yeah.
It was, we were allowed to go, and that was basically it. And so we managed to make it there every day. But, again, this is, I'm in the middle of my 4th year rotations of pharmacy school. Alicia's, on maternity leave, but just in the post-birth period, recovering from a C-section, and trying to, at the end of a long day of taking care of a child and me coming home from rotation, like, put everything together and, all right, now we got to go. We are going to go to the NICU to visit our other daughter who is there. And we made it there every day, but it was, I mean, just, yeah, just challenging. Like again, going back to the word busy, like, it was always busy from the get-go, from even before birth, but like,
Yeah.
especially bringing them home, like on the day that we brought Georgie home. Um, yeah,
A factory of different types every single
Yeah.
step of the way.
yeah,
That's wild. I don't think we left the house for 2 weeks after Ben
Oh,
was
yeah.
born. So like to imagine having a newborn at home and having to leave to go visit your other one, that is I you guys are superheroes. There's
Yeah.
I don't know if I could even handle it. That's wild.
I don't know
Yeah.
that we did either, but like, I mean, just the
No.
same as any other parent, you just do what
Right.
you have to do to get through the moments of it
Mhm.
all. But
Yeah.
there was like a moment in all of that. I don't, you guys aren't from the Chicagoland area, so this might just zoom right over your head. Portillo's has a cake shake, and it literally is a shake with a piece of cake in it.
It's got
Portillo's
manicure
is
in
not
it.
a Chicagoland specific. Trust me, that
They've
is
grown it to you guys. That's true.
yeah. We have one. We have one now. Actually, Joe, it's like 2.5 hours from you
Yeah.
because you
Well,
live in the
when
middle
we
of
went,
nowhere. But
when we lived, it is that far away. But when we lived in Kalamazoo, we had a fraternity brother from Chicago, and when he would go home on holiday, he would
Oh
bring
yeah.
back crock pots full of Italian beef
I love it.
back to Kalamazoo, and so
Oh
that's the
yeah.
only way I knew Portillo's was because he would come back from Chicago. But oh, a
Because
cake
it's the
shake
right
sounds
way.
delightful.
It's
Thanks.
incredible. And there was this moment where, because I was post C-section, I could not cry. Like, could not actually cry
Yeah.
because it would be a whole body experience
Yeah.
that I could not do at that moment.
Right.
Because it hurt so bad. And so I told Matt, I was like, I need to go and get a cake shake
Mhm.
immediately, because that's the only thing that I can do to channel all of this right now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really what it was, is just like finding the things that make it all still feel okay
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
that moment of just impossible.
Yeah.
for sure.
But we made
So
it to here.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's 2 years later.
We always find a way to
So
make it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
up until the point of having Georgie and Lily, was there any sort of like, in quotations, prep work you guys did, or like any sort of like, how did you go, being a parent, sometimes you hear like, here's the books, here's the classes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of that times for single kids. So was there anything you had to do knowing the twins were coming?
I think the biggest thing was figuring out what we needed 2 of and what we didn't. Like,
Yeah.
like cribs, 2, right? A stroller that could fit 2 things, yes. 2 car seats, and kind of adjusting expectations, right, from the time that we found out we were having twins. Up until that point, granted it had been just a couple months, but like, from the time we found out we were pregnant until we found out we were having twins, it was like, okay, like, we've got 1 kid on the way, like.
Mhm.
And the planning starts right away. Obviously, you guys both know that. Like, you start. Alicia, I'm very fortunate. Her degree is actually in child development, so very fortunate that she has an incredible pulse on all of those things. And I don't remember what the book is called, but I got a first time dad book, so I could try to keep up and learn all the things that I didn't know up to that point. Um, but we definitely shifted expectations, and yeah, like, I mean, it felt busy from that point on. I think, like, we definitely did a lot of preparation, figuring out, talking to other people who had twins, and figuring out what their experiences were like, how to just anticipate what was coming as best as we could without, actually experiencing it yet.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the things you have to like throw out the book that they generically give you
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it doesn't even work even a little bit anymore. And really lean in, like genuinely. I know this is going to be like the most zillennial type answer I could give. I was on TikTok every day looking at videos of
Yeah.
like, how are people doing this?
Fantastic
Um,
resource. Not li- my wife.
Yeah.
so much.
My wife also has a degree in early childhood education, child development,
Yeah.
and is still on like mom TikTok and
Yeah.
educator TikTok because it's while it is a very entertaining thing, it can also be a very good resource for that. Like even
So
if
much.
it's as simple as seeing what other people are going through, so you can prepare your emotions for
Yeah.
those moments, right? Like, hey, I'm up every 2 hours. I'm not just feeding one child and putting them back to bed. We both
Right.
have to be up. We both have to carry, take a kid, things
Oh
like
yeah.
Yeah.
those kinds of experiences. Just knowing people are going through them, I'm sure, was helpful.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, so much. Well, and even like seeing how it was actually happening because a lot of times the work, at least for me, was so overwhelming. I was like, okay, logistically though, how do we do this? And so things of like how to put both children in a carrier
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm.
Yeah.
sometimes it was going to be just me when we
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
when I first went back to work. It was just me taking the girls to our childcare and
Yeah.
Matt taking them back. And so, like, how am I going to get to and from? And the other logistical thing that was like a side venture of that is we live in like Chicago proper. And so we live on the second story of a three flat. And so it was like,
Wow. Yeah.
how do you do all of this and have none of the comforts of the suburbs where you can like easily just walk into your garage and get them all in the
Right.
stroller or do this or like
A
doesn't
staging
take
area.
oh my gosh yeah,
Yeah.
like all that stuff you don't even think of or like how to put all of the milk just in one container because if you do all the individual bottles like oh my gosh you're going to be drowning it. We also very much took on some methodologies from the hospital too that helped us
Yeah.
prepare that were like
Absolutely.
preparing like our home for that type of change but like how to prepare our dogs and like the
Yeah.
things that people normally do but like one of the things that they focused in on was what things you actually have to wash
Yeah.
where you want to have like secondary stations so
Hmm.
like we had a napping station in our living room in our bedroom and in their room and they really broke it down in a way that was just so helpful like
Yeah.
Northwestern they are a dream to work with and they
Yeah.
really outside of TikTok Northwestern was our biggest support in preparing us.
Yeah.
I love that.
I feel like
Something I don't think I ever thought of. I haven't spent a lot of time. There are twins in our family. There was a time, basically, in the 7 weeks before that first ultrasound, when you find out how many are in there, we were
right.
expecting twins because we're like,
Oh yeah.
it's like worst case scenario. Like you have to imagine that we're gonna have two. Like that's just how this goes. I would consider ourselves lucky to not have twins, but it's
Yeah.
the one thing I don't think I ever thought of was the pure logistics of it. It's like truly when you have one kid, there are a lot of logistics, right? When you have a newborn baby, you have to support the head. You have to make sure everything is around. When they start rolling, you have to make sure things are in arm's reach. So, there are logistics, but you don't have to think about them that much because they almost just come to you naturally, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, he rolled away from me when I was trying to change a diaper. I should keep wipes closer so I don't have to like get up and go get them, right? Things like that.
Yeah.
But when you have twins, there's no time to just feel those things out, right? Because
Yeah.
you're just busy all the time. Was that one of the biggest challenges you guys faced?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think like one of the things I was thinking about with in terms of like preparation too. I think probably the single best piece of advice that we got. I don't remember where it came from. Is just like with two, like keep them on the same schedule.
Oh yeah.
In terms of like feeding, changing, napping, all those things. Like there's going to be variables in there that you can't control, of course, but as much as you can, like keeping them on the same schedule so you're not like we would feed them at the same time, like holding the two bottles in the double boppy,
Yeah.
as opposed to spending I don't know, 15 or more minutes feeding one, and
Yeah.
then you still have another
Push to the
15 or
other.
more minutes feeding the second one. So trying to like pair things up that could be paired up. as
Yeah.
much as possible. I think definitely like streamlined as much as it could,
Yeah.
our processes. But yeah, like the challenges of navigating like two kids at one time that at first are completely codependent, right? Can't do anything on their own.
Yeah.
Diapers, feeding, all of that stuff. Um, yeah, I think that was probably the most difficult part.
Yeah. I mean, logistics drive our household
Yeah.
right now,
Sure.
and have for the past 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
It it requires everything to be so structured, but I didn't realize that the hardest part of that would be that you have to take away some of those sweet moments that you
Mhm.
get to see other people have.
Yeah.
So like even things like falling asleep on the couch next to your baby, we couldn't because well, Matt sleepwalks like crazy, so that's step one. Step one.
Yeah.
But also like you have two babies, you can't safely
Yeah.
protect two at the same time. You can't. Oh, sorry, I got a timer going off. Uh, you just can't do it the same way. And so like our girls, I don't think they could fall asleep getting snuggled. They have to be in their bed alone more or less,
Yeah.
unless they're not feeling well.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
but yeah, just like those things that um like we didn't hold them much while we were feeding them their bottles because
Yeah.
it was more efficient to have them in their boppies.
Yep.
And things like that that just had to look different to get the tasks accomplished.
Yeah.
It's wild to think about and hear you say that because like I think I have a Polaroid right above my desk. Actually, I'm looking at it of Ben asleep with me asleep on the couch. Right, like just
Yeah.
something simple like that. Like when he was small, we were asleep on the couch because he was a terrible sleeper and would only sleep like that. You guys
Right.
never like those are experiences you guys never got to have, and it's
Yeah.
wild to think about. As they have grown, would you say the initial because Joe and I talk about right now is probably the hardest part for us, right? With two toddlers running around, being menaces, tearing the house apart. Like, I have two boys, so they wrestle, they throw things at each other, they're wild. Would you say the newborn phase for you guys was the hardest, or is it like gotten progressively harder as they've gotten older, or easier?
I think it's gotten progressively harder. Like ever since they started taking those first steps, right? We're like, all right, where do we got to install the baby gate to like? We don't have like a very large home, but it's like large enough where I mean, any home, right? They're gonna
Yeah.
get into. There's stuff to get into. Yeah, I think as they've been able to move around, they can open doors now, which is just like dastardly behavior. Like,
One of the worst phases.
yeah, like I'm closing the bedroom door behind them to come out and wash my hands really quick, and then I hear little feet stomping behind me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot you can open that now. Like,
They flicked a deadbolt, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think definitely at this point, like in the exploratory phase before they listen to instructions better, it's definitely increased in difficulty, and we've really like which we're constantly talking about ways we can adapt our home to like just accommodate them better, whether it be the spaces that they play in or like how to set up their room where they aren't gonna like. I mean, they've destroyed the curtains in there at this point, but like where they're not pulling on the curtains and things along those lines. It's gotten more difficult for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's it's a shift in difficulty.
Yeah.
The initial difficulty, like postpartum, was Alicia more difficult, um, because I was going through so many other things. So, like when I think about for me, what was a more difficult period, 100% that time.
Mm-hmm.
Which time period tests my patience a lot more
Yes.
and is more challenging and like just grinding away every single day. Oh, it's this one for sure, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
Lily looked at me dead in my eyes and dumped her cup of milk out for dinner.
Oof.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't like that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Girls too. I don't have any girls, so Joe has regaled me with stories of that attitude. I
Ugh.
don't think I'm
Jeez.
set up for that.
Yeah. Of
It's
course,
fierce, but
sassy.
so is the sweetness.
Yeah.
It's true.
Right.
Absolutely.
So as you've moved up, or as they've moved up and are now 2 years old. Um, how, I guess, first I kind of want to talk about the personalities, because seeing them at camp just for a weekend, they are very different.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
very different.
So how did, I guess, when did you start to notice the personalities between the two kind of start to shift, and and they kind of then took their own paths to being their own little
Immediate.
human beings? Yeah.
Immediate for
Yeah.
me, at least it felt immediate. I couldn't necessarily fully tell their faces apart right
Yeah.
away, to be
Right.
entirely honest. We still don't know if they're identical or not.
We put a mark on their foot at first just to make
Yeah,
sure
and then
we
we
had
ended
them.
up putting one
Yeah.
behind their ear when we brought them home. Like
Yeah.
it was a process. But immediately you could, like, if you spent a moment with them talking and looking at them and everything, Lily has always had all of the highs and all of the lows of emotions. She experiences the full breadth of
Yeah.
life. And Georgie, like, she is going to end up moving to Colorado someday and having the most chill vibes ever. Like,
Yeah.
she is just here. She's no nonsense, but she's just here for the vibes
Mhm.
and is like very middle of the road. She'll let you know when something's wrong, but just like
Yeah.
she's here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely very early on, like it's and they've definitely like diverged. Like I mean, as kids just get more strong, like their personalities become stronger. So and I think they've continued to like follow their own tracks. Like even they interact obviously all the time, right? When they're
Yeah.
at home, they're in the same room at the preschool that they're in, um, and like they but they still just have very distinct personalities, and they've definitely tracked. Like Alicia said, it's like that same general concept, and it's just kind of grown as
Yeah.
they've grown and learned more.
And I'd say foundationally too, like, so Lily was our NICU baby,
Mhm.
and Georgie was out of there as soon as she could be out of
Yeah.
there. And I believe, like, as crazy as it is, like, we think of these times and we're like, there's no way that can be that foundational. But for the first 2 weeks of Lily's life, for the bulk of every day, she was alone in a plastic box on all of these monitors.
Mhm.
She couldn't be wiggly. Like, they were feeding her. They were doing everything they could to stabilize her. She had
Mhm.
premature apnea of prematurity. And so basically would just like stop breathing. And
Mhm.
so with that, she was in a very restricted space and was not doing any gross motor development.
Mhm.
But we had those black and white pictures and
Yeah.
she was watching them
Yeah.
all the live long day. Like, she was
Yeah.
having a lot of mental stimulation, but not
Mhm.
much physical. And then Georgie, on the flip side, had every bit of Matt and I's family over because we just needed people who could sit with her.
Yep.
Of course, we wanted to see them too, but we were like, can you watch her
Yeah.
while we go?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah.
So she was able to experience so many different people, so much more
Yeah.
tummy time. And
Yeah.
I mean, right now, even Lily's cognition is just bonkers. Like, she
Mhm.
can sing her ABCs and count to 20,
Yeah.
and then Georgie will climb anything and
Yeah.
has like this gross motor that is just insane. So they're
Yeah.
like opposite in that way.
Mhm.
And I think it does go back to that early on.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's almost nice too because, I mean, I'm sure with both of you having an older kid and a younger kid, you see the younger kid reaching milestones sooner, like because they have someone to
100%.
model all of those things. And I think like in their own way for Georgie and Lily, with the different kind of tracks they've been on, like they've been able to, Georgie reaches a physical milestone. She walked first, crawling more efficiently off of her stomach, things like that. And then, Lily sees that and then she follows suit. And then on the flip side of that, in terms of just like talking, like Lily formed words more quickly. I think
Mhm.
her vocabulary is larger, and again,
She told me
she's
she was frustrated last week, and
yeah,
I was like, okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
And then Georgie, of course, gets to hear all those things and catch up in her own way on that side. So it's like it's been nice in that sense, I think,
Yeah.
too, of like getting to nurture them a little bit differently and see them within the own circle of just the two of them, like nurture each other too.
Yeah.
That was going to be a big question of mine. So it's funny you bring that up. My older son, was pretty significantly speech delayed. He's been seeing a speech therapist since he was 18 months old. My second son, not a problem at all. Like 9
Yeah.
months was already starting to form words, like not even
Yeah.
close to being an issue. And so that was leading right into that about how they not only form their own like personalities, but that same development tracks and things like that. Is awesome to hear that one is good at one thing, one is good at the other, and they feed off each other. That's really cool. That's much different than I would have thought having twins would have been like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in a different world, if we had brought both of them home at the same time, or if they had both been in the NICU, like Alicia said, it's hard to wrap your mind around a 2 week period at the beginning of their life having such like a lasting impact, but it really does feel like
Yeah.
that, was a foundational moment for each of them in their own, as individuals. And so in a different world, it could have been, more in tandem, parallel, traveling together as parallel lines, and kind of doing the same thing at the same time. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to backtrack again one more time. Matt, as the babies were here and Alicia had come out of, C-section, how did, I mean, you had the one of your daughters in the NICU and one at home. How did you as a dad um kind of take that on to support Alicia with what she needed coming out of that C-section, but then also being a dad of twin newborns and trying to navigate that? Because I know, like, with Jared and I, Kayla and Katie, they had natural births.
Mhm.
But our wife still needed support with this and that. And with C-sections, it's a little bit more extensive. There's a little bit more healing, a lot more going on. And that process, even with one baby, is tough being the partner to support. So with two babies, how was navigating that?
I mean, candidly, certainly, I would not say I did as good of a job as I would have liked to. Reflecting back on that period, like, um, this is like getting I don't know, a little deeper, but like, school has always been a high priority to me, and I think in that period, like at the stage I was at, it took not always the first priority, but a lot of the times, I think we reflect on it on the time quite a bit actually, and like Alicia had to be self-supportive in a lot of areas that she should not have had to be. And so, that's not to say there weren't times that I was a good or great dad, but, um, by and large, I think there were a lot of areas that I fell short in terms of just being there for her, being there for Georgie and Lily, and, really just, I guess, having my priorities straight. After finishing school, I had a break before I started my 1 year residency program, during which I was studying for, um, the licensure examinations that I had to take to be licensed in the state of Illinois. And, during that time, I had them. Alicia was back to work, in May, I think, right?
Just after Memorial Day.
Just
Yeah.
after Memorial Day. And so there was like about a 2 month period or so before they kind of shifted into the childcare option that we had, where I was watching them and studying at the same time. And so I think that was like not probably, like that was the first time where um, I think really started to more so fulfill like a larger role, um, instead of being a player on the same team, but then sometimes, opting to take a step back. And yeah.
I'll give him
So
credit where it's due,
yeah.
though. That man washed so many pump parts.
Yeah.
He
Love
showed
it.
up
The
with
dishes,
every
my guy.
single
dishes.
meeting. Like,
Yeah.
that was really the biggest support. Like, the full transparent answer is yeah. Like, he wasn't everything I needed him to
Yeah.
be, but I didn't know what I needed anything
Right.
Yeah.
to be. It was such an experience that I still don't like. I'm still seeing my postpartum therapist to figure all that
Sure.
out. We don't even know. But with that, like, the biggest thing that I think Matt did do was he was a part of it in the ways that he knew how. I think if anyone else were in the same circumstances, because I find most moms now that when I talk to them, they're like, I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't
Mhm.
know what I needed. Um, really the biggest thing. And I think twin mom or otherwise that people would ask for or say that they need is they need their partner to be their advocate during that time
Mm-hmm.
because you lose your voice.
Yeah.
Or at least for me, it felt like I lost my voice, and that was never anything. Back to me not knowing when to stop talking. It was never something I had ever experienced, and things that I usually would speak up about. Um, I stopped, and I don't know why. But I will say, if you are looking for any tips for people who are new dads, don't go golfing. That's not the answer.
Yeah.
Don't go golfing.
Not proud. Not
Just
proud
don't do that.
moments
Like,
for
that's
me.
really the only beef, is just don't go
Yeah.
golfing.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Is
Yeah.
very lucky my sons are born at the end of the summer and beginning of fall because I didn't have the like it was already fall. I had kind of gotten it all out already.
Yeah.
If I had early spring babies, it would have been a tough summer. I'll be
Oh, yeah.
transparent. It would have been a tough summer. I think it's so interesting to hear you talk about this, right? Because comparing with our own experiences and things like that, Joe and I would both agree we were better dads on the second kid than we were on the first kid. That is just like
Absolutely.
a nat because that first kid comes out and you're just doing what you feel natural to do, right? You're doing as much as you can, but it's also much less. We've already talked about this. It's much less going on, right? They eat, they sleep, they poop, and then rinse and repeat. Even and we had slightly different experiences, Joe and I did, where my wife was also, my first son wouldn't latch, so he was we were full-time pumpers. There's a picture somewhere on our Big Dad Energy Instagram, and I have to scroll back to find it, of we donated all of our milk when he was done breastfeeding, because my wife was also an overproducer. We had like I can't even quantify, like hundreds of ounces of milk, hundreds,
Yeah.
that we donated because we just had so much. We bought a separate chest freezer for the basement because
Same.
we had so. See, yes,
Same.
yes,
Yep.
because there's just so much. You're like,
Yep.
this doesn't fit anywhere, and we can't get rid of it because it's so valuable. Like, we have to keep it.
Yeah.
And so, but we just kind of felt our way through it because we had the flexibility of it was less structured, less, you're just kind of feeling your way through. We also, I was lucky enough that my son was born in 2020. We never had a lapse in jobs, but I suddenly was a remote worker. So and my wife taught kindergarten online for that first year. So for the first year of my son's life, he had two parents at home. We were working.
Yeah.
When one was on a meeting, the other would take the baby and things like that. But like, we had such a different opportunity. And then you contrast it to you guys who had two kids right away, all logistics, and boom, you got to go back to work right after that. It is, you guys are superheroes in my eyes. There's no way that I would have survived any
For
of that.
sure.
It's just not possible.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I mean, I also applaud you, Matt, for going through all that schooling and intense.
Mm.
My goodness, I'm not built for school, and for you
Hey,
to
I'm
do
all
all
done
that and be
too.
a dad,
I'm over that. Did my time.
you did your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like Jared said, us as first time dads was rough. There's a lot looking back on too that I'm like, man, there's so much difference that we could do, and even second time dads, I'm like, man, if I had a third one, that's the one. I know it.
We'll see. It's only in the cards for one of us on this podcast now, so we'll
That's
see.
true. Yeah, I'm done. I am donezo on that one. But before we get out of here, like I said, Jared and I come from family systems where there's just, not twins. You
Mhm.
two, being having 2 years of experience, if somebody was coming looking for any sort of tips, tricks, advice, what would you say? Um, somebody just found out they're gonna have twins, and maybe they're a little hesitant, they're panicky. Um, from your eyes now, 2 years in, what would you say to them?
You
The-
make it work somehow.
Yeah.
It's
make
gonna
it-
work. You might not know how, but
Yeah. You really do make it work. I think the two pieces that I would really convey, take care of yourself,
Yeah.
because if you're not taking care of yourself, there's no way you're going to take care of those babies. It's just not going to happen. Keep them on the same schedule.
Yes.
And then if I'm allowed to add a third,
Yeah.
get a double boppy.
Yeah,
Like it's called the
absolutely.
Twin Z pillow.
Mm-hmm.
Game changer.
Oh my god, the best
Yeah.
thing we have ever
Yeah.
like 10
Mm-hmm.
out of 10 recommend.
Yep.
It's like a truly incredible thing.
Yeah. One of the
Awesome.
top 3 to 5 things that we purchased that made our lives like massively,
Infinitely
yeah,
easier.
infinitely easier. Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love when people will talk about the certain products that they've bought that just like
Yeah.
game change, or Jared and I have talked about things that we find it's awesome that you guys have found something that you're like, yep, that's the one. That's what you should have.
That's the one.
Absolutely.
And if you live in a city and like it is a pricier stroller, it was our splurge. The Vista V2,
Mhm.
worth it. Up
Yep.
a baby, like it's stupid expensive. It was the best. It was the splurge
Yeah.
that we did. It was the best thing we could have done.
Yeah.
If nothing else, because you can fit twins in one bassinet when you go on a walk,
Yeah.
and it's so much
It's great.
easier to get. Like
Yeah.
it gave me so much freedom
Mhm.
when Matt was still in school and I was alone during the day trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to do the things. It was the only way I was able to get outside was because I was able to hold them in my little bassinet and go down the
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah.
So that's my other
Yeah.
recommendation for products.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. We appreciate it. And, it's been so nice to hear a whole different perspective and a whole different life than what we're used to. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys.
Thanks
This
for
was
having
awesome.
us.
Appreciate you guys too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Matt and Alicia, again for coming on. We really appreciate it. Um, my goodness, what a huge whole different world than what we're used to.
Wild. Absolutely wild. They're superheroes. There's no other. I said it earlier. They're
They are.
superheroes. It is. I think the most interesting thing to me is how thoughtful logistically they had to be with their kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like
No
think back
kidding.
to when you had Cora, when I had Ben. You're just winging it. I mean, there's no other way to. You're just winging
Yeah.
it. Yes, you read and
Yeah.
plan and have all. You're just winging it. You got one kid. You're just winging it.
Right.
And adding a second kid, they're at different stages, right? Like Ben could walk by himself and take instructions and go
Yeah.
places. Like he was cognizant of what's going on. So it was totally different. It was just totally different. Imagine having two newborns at the same time that can't do anything, and you have to do it.
Ugh,
There's no,
it's scary.
Joe. My first thought was like, how do you support the head if you don't have two hands? Right? Because you got to hold both of them. How do you support the head if you don't have two hands? You got to hold both.
Yeah.
Like things that you would never have thought
Thankfully,
of.
yeah, Matt's 8 feet tall, so his hands are like, baseball mitts. He can hold a whole baby in each hand. But my goodness, we are not that size. Uh,
No way.
it's scary. It's crazy to think about that. And yeah, I couldn't do it. It's scary. They did it. They're amazing. Their kids are great. Hopefully, if you have twins out there or potentially have twins coming on the way, Matt and Alicia were able to give you a little bit of advice that might work to your benefit. But again, thank you both so much. We appreciate you. You all out there, some news coming up. Jared and I will be, well, Big Dad Energy will be releasing a website very soon. It's in the works. And on that website, we will be selling some merch, which is very cool and very exciting.
Woohoo!
Super excited to have that. So once that actually goes live, we will let you all know. And on top of that, we are considering doing some membership options, whether it's Patreon or something on our website in general. Um, for monthly prices, you can get XYZ, whether it be, maybe special stickers, special episodes with our wives. I'm still trying to convince them to do a monthly Big Mom Energy, just the two of them mom it out would be cool. Um, but that's something that's in the works, and it's been something Jared and I have been talking about for a long time, and we're getting down to the end of at least the website and the merch piece of it. I'm very excited to get that live, so we will let you know when that happens. Besides that, thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you every week or every other week tuning in. We really couldn't have done this 2.5 years without you guys. And we're excited to keep going. So thank you all so much. We appreciate you. If you haven't, go give us a like, comment, rating, subscribe.
3.5 years, Joe.
You look like you're getting 3.5 years.
Ben is
Oh my
3.5.
God. That's right. That's right. We're so old.
It's wild.
I'm losing it.
Wild.
It wild. But give us a like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review, all that good stuff. Shoot us an email at bigdadenergypod@gmail.com. And thank you to Planet Ant for having us on their podcast network.
Hey, go find us on YouTube. You can watch our pretty faces. There's a little surprise in this last interview. If you watch through the interview, there's a little surprise about halfway through it. So go find us on YouTube, Big Dad Energy Podcast. Look it up, subscribe, give us some likes, get us in the algorithm. Appreciate you guys. Go follow us on Instagram, Big Dad Energy Podcast as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. And hopefully you keep coming back every week. So for both of us, I'm Jared Szymanski.
I'm Joe Lopez.
Remember, lick your tongues twice before you use them.
This has been a production of Planet Ant Podcast, powered by Pinecast.